Hello, welcome back. This is Tubes & Co with me, Dawn Neeson, keeping me company until 7 o'clock. Kelvin, Mackenzie and Joe Phillips, and of course you out there, because it is about you and your views. Lots of you getting in touch. I will read as many out as I possibly can. gbnews.com/your say. Now let's talk about Rwanda again, shall we? The Rwandan government say they will work with Nigel Farage if he wins the next election, but it will cost £50 million, which they say is owed to them by the Tory government. This comes as 7 people have arrived in Rwanda as part of a deal to accept deportees from, oh yes, America. Zia Youssef of Reform UK has posted this. Within 24 hours of our plan, the plan they announced, Afghanistan and Rwanda say they will do a deal with Farage. The No We Can't Brigade are absolutely seething. Coming to you first on this one, Kelvin, is Zia right?
I like Zia, by the way. He gets a lot of
He was very good the other day, to be fair.
For his, mainly because of his religion, so it's straightforward, sort of anti-Muslim. But he actually a very bright guy and a tremendous asset for Reform, I think. And by the way, a very successful business person, which is 10 times better than most of the half-wits we've got. In fact, entirely the entire half-wits we've got in the Labour cabinet who hate wealth, and they hate wealth creators, and now they even hate house prices. Well,
we're coming to that one.
How stupid is that? On this question, right? £50 million. Honestly, if the question about this is this: will it work? Actually, if we actually started sending a number of illegal migrants to Rwanda, I guarantee to you that the number coming across the channel would be reduced dramatically.
It's a deterrent.
So that's all it is. It's a deterrent. Unfortunately, our socialist chums decided that actually they didn't like the idea. Why? Because I don't know whether it offended their sensibilities. They said it didn't. It couldn't work, but they never gave it a chance. So, in fact, the effect of that is a year later, we've got more illegals coming here than ever before. So I think it's a good idea. I like the idea of Reform wandering around the world, offering deals to Eritrea, Afghanistan, or anything. Just anything to stop the people coming here. There is a massive political prize, whether it's Starmer, Badenoch, and/or Nigel Farage. If they can, whoever stops it, almost certainly guarantees their election in this country. It's an incredible thing. And what I can't understand is any time anybody makes any suggestion, for instance, Farage the other day said ECHR has got to go. Apparently Badenoch says is going to say something similar at a party conference. Immediately he comes out and says, oh, well, Belarus and Russia. Actually, what we're really talking about, we are talking about stopping something. If anybody stops it, of any political hue, it's an absolute triumph. So I'm 100% on Zia's backing of this.
It's not rocket science, is it, Joe? Just stop the boats. Why?
Well, it's not rocket science, but it has proved incredibly hard for successive governments over many years. It has got worse, admittedly, this year.
Have you had a random call lately from a strange number, maybe trying to sell you something or even scam you? If so, your info could be out there. That's because of data brokers, shady companies that scrape the internet for your personal details and sell them to marketers or even scammers. These days, scammers can even use AI to mimic your friends' voices and trick you into sending money. It's not just annoying. Data brokers often target vulnerable people with high-interest loans or sketchy offers. But there is a solution. Incogni, the sponsor of this video. Incogni contacts data brokers on your behalf and requests your info be deleted from their databases. And because your data can keep popping up, Incogni keeps sending removal requests to make sure it stays gone. They've just launched a new unlimited plan with custom removals. If you find your info on a weird website, just send them the link and their privacy team will work to get it taken down. Getting started is easy. Hit the link in the description, create your account and let Incogni handle the rest. It's risk-free for 30 days and you'll get 60% off an annual plan with the code GBNews. Take back control of your data with Incogni.
But the backlog,
50,000 under the Labour
but the
government.
backlog that was allowed to build up under the Tories has been part of the problem, and that's what you've got the hotel problem.
But you could argue that the Tories at least set up a deterrent, which then was...
So Rwanda, which we paid Rwanda £290 million in direct payments. We then spent another £400 million on the scheme, according to the Home Office, which covered chartering flights that never took off.
And civil servants
and
to
civil
sort
servants,
it all out as well.
And 4 people went voluntarily.
And 2 Home Secretaries,
and the reports from the Home Secretary, from the Home Office and other
Are you against it, Joe, yes or no?
I'm against if it wasn't thought through properly. I'm not against the idea of a third place processing people. But the Rwanda idea was a gimmick, and it was another expensive gimmick that wasn't.
But it has to be in a place.
Yes,
it
but
can't,
okay.
it can't
All right,
be.
Kelvin,
it
well,
can't
then let
be
me...
Cannes or Nice.
No, but,
it has to be
would you send
in Africa.
back girls to Afghanistan? Would you do a deal with the Taliban?
Well, so they come over here, they know that they're taking a risk, don't they?
Yeah.
They're taking a risk. We don't want them. OK, let's be honest. I actually don't want them.
So
you
women...
may want them. Everybody goes back, I'm afraid.
What? So you would send women and girls back to
this is
Afghanistan?
where I differ from Farage. I would say anybody who comes here under any circumstances goes back. So I would. So Nigel was being political there, saying it's a difficult area.
And you would be happy for the UK government to do a deal with the Taliban that oppresses women, doesn't allow them access to education.
Yeah, but that's their system. Why should we have to accommodate somebody else's thought processes?
Because they're fleeing something so dreadful.
Right. So you taking? Anybody know? If you could look it up, how many people live in Afghanistan? They're all being oppressed. We take the whole damn country. I don't want 50, 80, 150 million over here.
About women and girls.
Right, what? We're talking about what, 10, 15 million? How many are we talking about?
I don't know.
Oh, right, well, you should know, Joe. You're in favour of bringing them over here. I'm just saying we're not going to have them.
I'm asking you a question that you would send them back.
I would.
And I think there is a different argument, which is you could process people in a third place, a safe place, but you send people back to somewhere like that?
What? I would send them back everywhere.
What do you think?
Otherwise, everywhere in the world could simply come here.
How many women and girls have managed to come to the UK in the boats from Afghanistan?
Very few, I think.
I couldn't find any accurate figures, but I think it's pretty much known. It's mainly from the Afghanistan, and I think they're the second largest group after Eritrea.
But the point is, once you say
men.
something like we're going to send everybody back, that you're going to send back unaccompanied children.
I'm not sending anyone back. I'm sitting here getting used to talking about it.
No, but I mean, there has to be a level of reasonableness.
If we knew where those kids came from, they have to
But I think the point about Rwanda was it was badly thought through. There was no evidence to say that it was going to act a deterrent. That was the advice given to Suella Braverman and Priti Patel, the 2 Home Secretaries that went through the process. And nobody has come up with anything else. And you're absolutely right. There does need to be a deterrent, for sure. And tinkering around the edges...
Can I just say, though, Joe, the great thing about you and the great thing about the liberal view of life is that, in fact, everybody says there's got to be a deterrent, and then somebody says, "Well, what about Rwanda? Or what about the Congo? Or what about something like? Oh no, we can't do that."
No,
but you know they're not very nice to people. But whether they're very nice to people is not our problem. Our problem is I don't want 50,000, 100,000. I just don't want any more. In fact, I would have a pause for 10 years and say, after 10 years, we'll look at it again. But up until then, we are simply not taking anybody.
So tell me this, and why did the previous governments not use the ability...
They're not a good person to name. They were absolutely...
They were dreadful.
They were absolutely dreadful.
No one's arguing that the Conservative government covered themselves in glory with this one.
For years and years and years, until we left the EU, we had the right to send people back to the country that they first set foot in, not the country of origin, under the Dublin Agreement. We pulled out of the EU, so that has been taken away from us. But why was that not used?
I totally agree. The great disaster of Brexit has been that we can't do what we could prior to Brexit. And I think that is why you get all these polls. There was one very recently showing that people say, let's not have Brexit anymore because we'd be able to send people back. And actually, if you offered that as a poll, as an general election, said, if we go back into it, it will stop people coming across the channel.
We'd also have access to fingerprints. We'd also have access to criminal records.
I think things would change. I think it's a dramatic... It was a dramatic whole in the Brexit argument.
But they need to be really honest about that, because all the time we're coming up with these eye-catching headlines.
So why don't you suggest that? Why don't you become the leader of that thing? We can solve the problem about people coming here, right? We can solve the problem coming over here if we rejoin Europe.
Absolutely.
And then, for instance, if you Starmer hold a general election on the basis of it, I think he'd probably skate home.
Well, talking of Europe, I mean, Germany, still part of the ECHR, is managing to send migrants, male and female, back to Afghanistan. They don't have a problem with that.
In Germany, they're sending back convicted criminals. Denmark are doing it, and yes, there are people
who cross the channel are illegal. They're breaking British law, so therefore they are criminals.
Well, I think that's heartless.
It's factually accurate. It's factually accurate.
The old liberal.
Well, I'm sorry, but I think it's absolutely heartless.
But they are criminals. They have broken the law by crossing the channel illegally. Therefore, they are illegal. Therefore, if we were Germany, we could send them to Afghanistan.
Well, I tell you what, we've talked a lot in the last few weeks about the rising cost of benefits and the fact that the number of people out of work. You could argue that some people who actually are using huge initiative and resilience to get here, who want to make a better life, maybe we need people like that.
That's a great idea, I always thought, didn't you, Kelvin? Make it more attractive to come here.
Yeah, no, we want that. And I think Jo, without giving her address, lives in Whitstable, where I don't think many of these issues face you in the same way as they do in either Birmingham or London. I just make that point.
It's an absolutely fair point. It's an absolutely fair point. And I think, much of the debate has taken place in areas where, we are not necessarily seeing the impact on our doorstep. But I think that it is very dangerous that we get into this everybody with brown skin, everybody wearing a sari.
No one's anybody trying to get here illegally. They happen to have brown and black skin. It's not that we are stopping brown and black skin. Everybody who wants to come here illegally is of that colour.
Right, OK, let's just read a few messages out. Bob says an Afghan woman with a child in France has to make her own choice. Get asylum in France or cross the channel to UK and get deported back to Afghanistan. They are in France at the end of the day. It's a safe country. Meanwhile, Ange says we can't let people get sent back to Afghanistan. It is very dangerous, as Jo said. So keep those messages coming in, whichever side of the divide you're on, gbnews.com/your say.